Okay, our regular meeting, December 19, 2017, Board of Supervisors meeting now called to order. First on the agenda, we got public hearings. And first one is Carl Capps rezoning request. Lee County Board of Supervisors will hold a public hearing on December 19, 2017 at 6 p.m. in the General District Courtroom of Lee County Courthouse located in Jonesville, Virginia, to solicit input on a rezoning request. Carl Capps has requested to rezone property that is currently zoned R1 residential, single-family residential to M1 manufacturing, limited industrial. The property is located on the east side of Route 724, Sand Cave Road, approximately 1/2 mile north of US 58 Wilderness Road in the Ewing community, and consists of 0.95 acres of land. Tax parcel 63A-6-134-137 and 134A-144A, and a portion of parcel 63A-6-TR3. The property adjoins other M1 zoned property.
Mr. Chairman, if you flip over in your supporting documentation to the color page, it shows the zoning. Give you a little bit better, easier to understand, I think, information on this matter. There was an industrial building on this property initially, and you'll see the light gray shaded area there. That is the M1 manufacturing district. And then you'll see on Mr. Capps' property, which is outlined there with red highlighter, that a portion of that same parcel was zoned R1 residential, but there's no housing on that property. It's always had manufacturing buildings on it. So we feel like that was probably just a basic error in how the zoning maps were applied originally. This goes back to the beginning of zoning back in '93. And this would just be to correct that, to put that entire lot under M1 manufacturing rather than having that residential area there showing in that. This was heard by the Planning Commission. There has been no objections raised to this, and the Planning Commission has recommended approval.
I'll make a motion that we approve Carl Capps rezoning request.
Chairman, we would need to take any public comment in case there is any before taking action.
Any public comment on that? Okay, no public comment. I'll make that motion to approve the rezoning request for Carl Capps. Okay, we got a motion on the floor for Carl Capps rezoning request. Got a second?
Second.
Okay, we got a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, next we have Thomas Pridemore rezoning request. Lee County Board of Supervisors will hold a public hearing on December 19, 2017, 6 p.m. in the General District Courtroom of the Lee County Courthouse, located in Jonesville, Virginia, to solicit input on a rezoning request. Thomas Pridemore has requested to rezone property that is currently zoned R1 residential, single-family residential to M1 manufacturing, limited industrial. Property is located on the east side of Route 724, Sand Cave Road, approximately 1/2 mile north of US 58 Wilderness Road in the Ewing community, and consists of 0.83 acres of land. Tax parcel 63A-6-TR3A. The property adjoins other M1 zoned properties.
If you stay on that same page, you'll see the Pridemore property, which is located directly south of the Capps property, just across the street from it. It also borders R1 property, and there is a house on the lower or southern portion of that property, but Pridemore's own all of that tract in there. But the blue portion that's highlighted is the portion that they're requesting to rezone to M1 manufacturing. And again, Planning Commission has already heard this. There were no objections at their public hearing, and they have voted to recommend approval to the board. Mr. Pridemore's objective is to place a 30 by 50 building on the property to be used as a basically mechanic and welding shop.
Okay, we'll open the floor for anyone wants to speak on behalf of the Thomas Pridemore rezoning request. Okay, floor's closed for Thomas Pridemore rezoning request.
Make a motion, we approve this request.
Got a motion on the floor to approve this request. Got a second?
Second.
Okay, we got a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, next we got the proposed amendment to here's 2017 to 2018 budget. Lee County Board of Supervisors will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, December 19, 2017 at 6 p.m. in the General District Courtroom of Lee County Courthouse, Jonesville, Virginia. The purpose of the public hearing is to solicit public comment on proposed amendment to the fiscal year 2017-2018 budget. The Lee County School Board has requested a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $1,083,952, which requires no local match. The requested appropriation is the result of budget savings from the fiscal year 2016-2017 budget year, which the state will allow to be carried over to the next fiscal year.
Chairman, I think all board members are familiar with this, since I tried to illegally bring it up last month without a public hearing. But that information was in your board packet last month. The supporting documentation and everything was with it. So I think you all, we included the same information again this month. This is just savings from the prior fiscal year that they're requesting to be carried over.
Okay, and we'll entertain any public comment on the proposed amendment to fiscal year 2017-2018 budget. Okay, we have no public comment. Floor is closed to public comment.
Motion to approve the budget amendment.
Chairman, formally, that's resolution 17-019.
17-09?
019.
019. Okay, we got a motion to approve the proposed amendment 17-019. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, we have the treasurer's report. Okay. Go into public expression. Floor's open. When you come up, state your name, where you live, and you got 3 minutes on the floor.
It won't take that long. But actually, I just wondered why the school board has got that much money on hand. $1,083,000.
Well,
It was operating savings from their prior year that ended June 30th, state funding.
But, I
that
mean,
had
how
not been
come they have
spent.
it at the end of the year?
They were able to save that amount through operations.
That's just like that day when you asked that guy about working on the building, and he said, you know, as much as I know. That's about what you're saying tonight.
I would have a comment on that, though.
Huh?
I said I would have a comment. I would ask the school board. That's who I would ask them.
You will?
You would. I mean, I would recommend you ask the school board. I know where they got, I know what they explained to us, if you know, it would
Did y'all
save.
issue them the money?
These were state funds. These are not county funds.
These are not county dollars at all. This is state dollars. I think that's where a lot of people get a misconception of where the money comes from. You know, there's state money, federal money, and local
A lot
money.
of money.
Any more public expression?
My name's Deborah Artrip. I live in Keokee. There was a suggestion made, from what I understand, in the last meeting, that there may be a committee formed to help the school board in their decisions about how to handle the problems that we've got with the local schools. Was that committee formed? Is it going to be formed? And who will make the decision if or and when?
Well, I think as you and I have talked.
Yes, sir, we did.
We've not discussed it with them since. You know, we've not had a meeting since.
Neither would they return a phone call to me to discuss it. Evidently, I'm not the kind of person they would like to have on.
But, you know, like I told you, you know, that's something we did talk about, you know, and I'm in favor of it. And I think pretty much everybody's in favor of it, but if and when we do, I think the school board, like I told you already, the school board will probably,
Make the decision.
they will probably form the committee.
So-
I would think, I don't know that they will ask us. That's just something that, you know, we kind of threw out there that we thought was a good idea.
I think everybody has a concern about if there's a chain of command about the money going back to the school board, if it will be used in an appropriate manner to take care of the problems, or who knows, who'll supervise how that money's being spent.
Well, there again, I think you and I have discussed that on several occasions. We have no control whatsoever how the school boards, once they get their money, the school board spends it the way the school board intends that they need to spend it. We have no control whatsoever on how they spend their money.
That's all I wanted to know.
Anybody else? All right, floor is closed to public expression. We'll now move on to approval of minutes from November 21, 2017 regular meeting. Can we do both of these, 2021, 2017 regular meeting, and also November 29, 2017 recess meeting?
Motion to approve the minutes. The regular meeting and the recess meeting.
We got a motion on the floor to approve regular and recess meeting.
Second.
Have we got a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, next we'll go to refunds. Do we need to do all these separate?
You can do them collectively or separately, however you choose.
Do you all see the need to do them separately?
Here's approved, he's going through all this.
Okay. I'll go ahead and go over them. First one is Enterprise FM Trust. Second one is Roy Keith Baker. Third is John W. Parsons. Fourth is Roger A. Birchfield. Fifth is Eddie R. Wade. Sixth is Robert W. Mullins. Seventh is Billy R. Woods. Eighth is Dale Rupert.
I want that one of these to do your 100% service connected disabled veterans.
Okay. Motion on the floor to approve the refunds.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we got a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, next we have the payroll. County Administrator reports the payroll warrants have been issued. And we'll move on to the delegations. We have Soul Smart Community Designation Program, Lydia Graves.
Hi, folks. I'm Lydia Graves. I believe there's a little PowerPoint presentation in your enclosure. I'll do my best to make it easy for y'all to follow along with that. I've also just sat down with Dane an additional publication for y'all as well. So again, to start out, thanks for having me. I live in Big Stone Gap. I'm originally from Bristol. Been in Big Stone Gap for about a year now. I work with Appalachian Voices, which is a economic development and environmental nonprofit in the Norton office. Appalachian Voices also has offices in Boone, North Carolina, Knoxville, Tennessee, and Charlottesville, Virginia. And I'm here to talk to y'all tonight about, I'm sort of here on behalf of a group called the Solar Work Group, and I'd like to talk to you about some of the work that we've done in the last year, 2 years, and some of our action moving forward. The main action for tonight is about the Soul Smart Community Designation Program. That's a fairly new zero-cost program from the Department of Energy. The point of that program being to make it easier and more affordable for local governments, residents, and industries to bring solar to Southwest Virginia or to any locality. And I'll go more into that in a moment, but first, again, I'd like to give you some of the background about the Solar Work Group. I think some of you have received emails from the Solar Work Group in the past. If not, don't worry, you're just missing out on a whole bunch of bombardment. The Solar Work Group is an effort that emerged from the 2016 Economic Forum at University of Virginia at Wise. The work group is comprised of a whole bunch of different stakeholders, including county IDAs, planning districts 1 and 2,
a handful of local nonprofits from the area, K through 12 school districts, institutions of higher learning, including UVA-Wise and Mountain Empire Community College, as well as just entities like the Department of Mines, Minerals, and Energy, and some utility companies as well. So while the Economic Forum was the catalyst for this particular effort, people in the region have been talking about solar for quite some time, throwing around that as an idea for local economic development. The forum was designed specifically to spawn and nurture action teams focused around specific economic community development efforts for Southwest Virginia. So in one of those breakout sessions at the Economic Community Forum or Economic Development Forum, some groups got engaged in a conversation about how we could leverage solar development as an economic driver for our region. That went really well, and it spurred into more meetings, and we invited some more folks. So those conversations continue to evolve as well. There was a lot of interest from a really broad set of stakeholders, and that's how we brought in those agents that I mentioned earlier. So the central question of the work group being, how can we leverage the development of solar power in Southwest Virginia to maximize local economic impact? Some important milestones of the work group in the last 18 months include receiving an ARC, or Appalachian Regional Commission, power grant. That grant was used to fund the development of the solar roadmap, of which you have the executive summary that Mr. Poe just passed out. We also received a technical assistance voucher from the Department of Energy from their Sunshot program. And in May of this year, we had the kickoff event to the 2017 Economic Forum. We had the first ever Southwest Virginia Solar Fair. Around 200 people attended that event. And that also marked the launch for our residential Solarize Wise program. So if you're following along in your packet, we're now to the goals slide. Over the course of several in-person meetings and some calls, we developed those 4 goals that include creating a more business-friendly solar policy in the state of Virginia, just making sure that everyone is on the same page, encouraging more outreach and education in our communities, attracting key solar or developing key solar ambassador projects, just highly visible sites for community economic development. And those 4 goals outline some of the main challenges and opportunities facing solar development in Southwest Virginia. So the Solar Work Group also recently published the Solar Roadmap. That's the executive summary that you have in your hands. The roadmap is meant to be sort of a how-to on solar development in Southwest Virginia, laying out the realistic feasibility that we have there. And it goes into those 4 goals much, much more in depth. It's actually like a 60-page document. That's why I've only brought the summary with me today. And so in the back of that summary, you'll find a handout that I've attached that's of particular note to the board. That handout outlines the economic analysis that was done for one of the key sites in Lee County. I think the one that I have there is the Jonesville Manor Apartments. We've also looked at the Powell Valley Bank and some other sites for evaluations in Lee County. So now switching gears back to SolSmart. The Solar Work Group recently began exploring the idea of supporting Southwest Virginia counties in participating in the SolSmart program with the association of, the assistance of the National Association of Counties, NACO. And again, SolSmart is a no-cost designation program from the federal government designed to help local governments make it cheaper and easier for industry and local residents to install solar. And my primary ask of the board this evening is to join Wise, Russell County, Dickinson County, as well as the towns of St. Paul, the town of St. Paul, in passing a resolution of support to begin the SolSmart application process. I also included a sample resolution in the back of your packet there, sort of what Wise County did. So to start out, solar power is now one of the fastest growing industries in the nation. It represents tremendous economic potential. The installed cost for residential solar, for instance, has fallen 40% since 2010. Presents an enormous jobs opportunity. There are over 260,077 solar workers in the U.S. And in 2016, 1 in every 50 jobs that were created was a solar industry job. As I mentioned before, the goal of SolSmart is to reduce the soft costs associated with solar development. If you're following along, it's that little chart there, that little infographic. So if you notice that the largest costs associated with solar development are it's that 64%, those soft costs, things like lead acquisition, permitting, processing, that kind of thing. That's where we have the opportunity to really bring those costs down. The 3 goals of the SolSmart program: make it faster, easier, and more affordable for Americans to choose solar energy. SolSmart will recognize at least 300 localities this year with a nationally prestigious solar designation. SolSmart designation demonstrates that a community is open for solar business, which providing that infrastructure makes them more attractive to solar industry. And SolSmart provides targeted, no-cost technical assistance in critical soft cost reduction areas. So why SolSmart? By streamlining the process for installed solar, we can save existing businesses money, allowing them to reinvest that in other areas of our community. And like I said, establishing that infrastructure to attract a really booming industry. The Department of Energy and NACO have identified that counties are in the most strategic position to address these soft costs. And so they've together created this designation program to tailor to that issue on the county level, where we have the most ability to impact that. So one of the best things about this program is everything that it is not. This is not a grant. This is not something that anyone would have to manage or oversee. This is just sort of increased staff time in the form of technical assistance. So it actually really does streamline and free up staff time for local governments. SolSmart has 3 tiers of designation: bronze, silver, and gold, with each subsequent tier representing an additional adherence to SolSmart's designation criteria. The application process is really basically just a checklist, so increased adherence to those little boxes, the more of those you check off, the higher your designation status would be. And I'll say now that something that we find in our region is that rather than like a large metropolitan area that might have a lot of prohibitive restrictions and red tape, bureaucratic policy, that kind of thing, we're more of a blank slate in terms of local solar policy. So that's actually a really good thing. It puts us in a position to really establish common sense, business friendly policies for our region. So if you can take a look at this map here, each one of these little dots on the map represents a community that's received SolSmart designation. And if you'll note that little gold cluster in Colorado, that's where the National Association of Counties is actively working with other coal-reliant communities to achieve designation there. So I'll talk a little bit more about the technical assistance. What would happen, we're pursuing this, making an effort to pursue this as a region. We hope to get all 7 counties on board, as well as the city of Norton. So after applying, we would get a full-time staff person. It's not financial assistance. This would be someone that would come and locate in the coalfield counties for a period of 6 months to be sort of our point person and help us get to this, develop a good solar policy strategy and aid in economic development efforts for the area. This would be consulting services from national experts, and they're designed to really assist our county in its unique challenges. For instance, some of the criteria areas and special focus would be utility engagement, community engagement, market development, that kind of thing. SolSmart advisors are program-funded temporary staff to help communities achieve designation. The advisors evaluate existing local government standards and apply industry-leading best practices that move a community towards designation. SolSmart advisors assist communities through engagements lasting up to 6 months. And that equates to hundreds of hours of in-person technical assistance for communities receiving an advisor. So for my final pitch, solar is the world's most abundant energy resource. Southwest Virginia has always been an energy producing region. I think it's really critical that we continue to adapt and evolve and keep jobs in our area so that we can continue to be an energy producing region. 1 in 50 jobs in 2016 was a solar job. And solar jobs pay family supporting wages. Even the most entry-level solar jobs, just installing on a rooftop, pays $15 to $17 an hour, and then higher up the value chain, that is a much more significant wage. And your county has more power than you think to attract solar industry. This is a really booming industry that presents a really unique opportunity for our region. And it's a federal program, so Lee County residents are already paying into it with their tax dollars. This is no cost to engage in. Appalachian Voices and the Solar Work Group are available to help in the application process. And so I just asked this evening that the board would make a motion to create a resolution of support to move forward with this SolSmart application process. And we'll pick back up from there. Thank you. And at this point, I'm welcome to take further discussion or any questions.
Any questions?
I got a few. Has any of this been installed, or is this just projected sites that's on this one page? The work group's priorities. On identifying developed sites that are ideal for solar development.
The sites that are the closest to shovel ready right now are both in Dickinson County, Ridgeview High School. There's already some funding and finance laid out for how we're going to do that, but that's the big goal for 2018, as well as Norton Green, which is a low-income apartment complex in downtown Norton. So those are the priority sites. We're looking at a handful of additional positions coming into the Solar Work Group and Appalachian Voices within the next few months that would be full-time experts to help in the development of all of the sites that are located on the roadmap.
So none's actually been done at this point.
No, the report was just published 2 weeks ago, and these are just the preliminary, the site assessments and the economic impact analysis was just completed.
So especially on the profit versus non-profit, who gets to dictate as far as the profit on this money being spent? Because that's actually going to boost their business for the profit. Well, any of them. Food City Grocery Store, Norton Green Apartments, Powell Valley National Bank Norton.
General matter here, Joe.
I mean, any of those that's privately owned businesses, that's going to boost their economy. And one main reason I'm asking, I got to looking at the map, and in the Coalfields, 13 sites in the Coalfield is located in Wise County, and only 5 is located in all the other Coalfield sites outside of Wise County.
Yeah, and I think that's just sort of a geographic limitation of where folks were able to get out on top of the roofs and go inspect the buildings, and where we have the most immediate just personal connections to be able to reach out to the property owners and to do the initial analysis. The Solar Work Group is made up of folks from all over Southwest Virginia. We had a meeting in Pennington Gap not too long ago, and it was just sort of a crowdsourced effort to identify those sites. The sites identified in the roadmap are really just the first things that came to mind, but this is just sort of the initial forecasting. I think in the suggested sites there were actually closer to 30, but this is just where the work was done and included in the roadmap.
So I guess the question I'm trying to ask is who dictates that? I mean, you guys just come in and say that this is what you're going to do? Is that tied into
No, it's
this
more of
somehow?
an illustrative tool to look at the existing potential in Southwest Virginia. Any nonprofit or private business owner that came to us and said, we'd like to see about installing a system, can you help us find money to do that? Can you help us attract somebody who could install that, point us towards local business people who have the ability to do it? We have the ability to help anyone who's interested along in that process and the resources to do so. So it's not something that...
It's up to them to come and talk to you.
It's up to them. I mean, we've reached out to all of the business owners outlined in the roadmap just to say that we've done this initial analysis, and these tools we have at your and our disposal if it's something that you would like to do. The reason for that the Dickinson County High School, the Ridgeview High School and Norton Green Apartments are so close to being shovel ready are because the co-conveners of the work group are UVA Wise and People Incorporated. So People Incorporated manages the Norton Green housing complex, and Denisha Edwards, who works for the school board in Dickinson County, is on the work group. But anyone that comes to us with an idea, we're absolutely ready to put forth all of our resources into making that a reality.
So if we sign a letter of support, that's putting us into the,
Into our work
into the,
Well, the letter of support it's non-binding, so if at any point you decide you don't want to pursue the designation, then that's fine, it doesn't require anything. It would just pull you into the sort of alliance of counties that are pursuing the Soul Smart designation, so they would all go about that together.
I think it'd be great, I just don't like
It's
to
a lot of
see
information.
the part of this you was going over, we didn't even actually have till
Oh.
a little later, that's why we all looked a little confused.
Well, I think I've split my card in that packet as well, so anytime you want to call in some of these graphs in here
I'm just hoping
are a little
everybody get a
wonky.
fair interest on who it's actually allotted to.
Absolutely. And
Like
so-
a lot of this group, especially Wise County, it's located.
Yeah, and there's no
Pretty good.
magic pot of money or anything that we had, that got dropped in our lap and that we said, okay, we're gonna use this money to deploy these 5 sites. The only real money that was, that fell into our lap was the Department of Energy Technical Assistance voucher. So that's just technical assistance to help us in the development of all of these sites equally. It's not, there's no money that's put forth into construction. If you'll look at some of the handouts like this, where we outline the finances, it's a lot of public and private just funds, whatever. It depends on if it's a private or nonprofit business, but there's no, politics doesn't really come into play in the sites that are developed. It's just up to the owners of those properties.
Any more questions?
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Dana, we don't have a closed session. do we?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so we can bring this up in closed session, right?
Since I wasn't here sharing most of the presentation, I don't know what
She
specifically.
just asked for a resolution of support, that's all she's asking.
Resolution of support.
You don't know that that would be qualified for closed session. I mean, it's not what it might, it's not really imposing any
No, it's just.
binding obligations
No,
on
it's
you.
just
She
letter.
said you can withdraw at any time. It's just state, I think the request is if you want to do a resolution, you're stating that you're willing to actively pursue that designation. And that's something that you could take up an actual resolution next month, once we've had time to prepare one.
So we need to wait till next month.
If you so choose, I mean, if that's what you want to do.
Well, I'll make a motion to pursue this, and if we need to wait till next month to pass it, okay, but I think.
Do you have a draft resolution or anything?
No, I didn't prepare a
Okay.
draft resolution, I just included that as an example.
She got the one from Wise,
Oh, okay.
so I mean, it wouldn't be,
So we can bring that back next month.
yeah, you just really change the word.
Okay.
Okay, next we have Appalachian Voices. Is that part of yours? Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, next we have approval of disbursements.
Motion to approve.
Okay, we got a motion to approve the disbursements.
Second.
Got a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, next we go to old business. First one is Scott County resolution regarding transportation funding.
Chairman, last month, you were presented with a resolution that Scott County had adopted regarding the Virginia Department of Transportation Bristol District being given some latitude in using primary road funding for improvements and maintenance to secondary roads. At the board's request, I prepared a similar resolution for your consideration. This one is not exactly like the Scott County one, but it has the gist of what they had stated in theirs.
Does this actually have any leeway with VDOT? I mean, because it's on state agency, I don't see.
Well, I mean,
Enough
basically,
reason really care what Lee County wants to do with their money.
I mean, to do this, the General Assembly has to approve this, and they would have to, if it's just for the Bristol district, or if it's for any transportation district that has rural counties, it would require General Assembly action specifically for those districts and/or counties, that they be given more or less discretion within the district to decide how to use those. And I'm not sure that they can even do that with federal funding. I think with state funding, they could probably do that, but with federal funding, it's designated for federal roads, so it has to be used on the federal primary road system. I don't really know. I mean,
So we just want to adopt it and ask.
well, I have mixed feelings about it, because when you ask for something this broad without much definition, not knowing what the end product might be, what you end up getting may be totally different from what you wanted. And when you start giving discretion within the district, well, who within the district makes that determination? You know, is it the district superintendent, district director? Is it a team that determines what's best for that district? How the counties have input into that. The Bristol district is fairly large, runs from Lee County to Pulaski, so, you know, even within that, who determines how much of the money gets shifted away from primaries and to secondaries, and how is each county's pot of funds determined? So I don't know, there's just a lot of ifs there. Personally, I don't think the General Assembly will touch it, but if you want to adopt it, you know, I just don't think they're going to make that distinction. I don't think they will, but anything's possible. And I understand the frustration that this came out of. Over
We
the
got a lot
last,
more secondary roads on this end than
well, and
quite a
over
few
the
of
last,
the other ones that have.
over the past 5, 6, 7 years, secondary road maintenance funds have really been depleted. And all you have to do is drive secondary roads in the summertime, and where grass on the shoulders used to be mowed 3 times a year, on some of those roadways, I'm not sure it's even mowed once. And so you get grass 4 foot high or higher that's leaning into the roadway, and it appears to make the road narrower. It's a perception of the driver, and I think just from that instance alone can potentially make some more unsafe to drive, because I think people crowd toward the center more. And a lot of the secondary roads are narrow anyway.
The state is taking back over those secondary roads this year, though, as far as the cutting on them.
Well, I mean, state's responsible for all the roads regardless, whether they contract it out or whether they maintain it
That is true.
in-house.
I think you can just about ask anybody, and for the most part, you know, when the state was taking care of them, you didn't have near as many complaints.
Well, but that was prior. It's not just a matter of it being contracted help that's doing the work. It is a guideline that was adopted at the state level that determines, based on the traffic flow on secondary roads, the traffic count, and things of that nature, how much maintenance is actually done on that road and what priority they have. There's 5 priority levels. And you get roads that have, you know, a small amount of traffic, they're not hardly touched because they don't register on the priority schedule. And that's not state-owned resources as opposed to state-contracted resources. That is a guideline that they have to implement regardless of who's doing the maintenance work. So it runs deeper than that. And that was a change that was probably implemented 6 or 7 years ago, I don't recall. But it became a priority guideline based on the traffic counts on those roadways.
I think you forgot some of the priorities, because it's like you said, they some of them secondary roads, I don't even know if they ever cut the grass on.
And that's not only for mowing, that's for routine maintenance, that's for plowing snow, that's for any type of maintenance activity that it falls through that guideline bracket. It's not been good for secondary roads.
I think they changed all that when they shut down this maintenance.
All of that started about the same time, but it was statewide. That was all part of their reducing cost effort, closing local residences and things of that nature.
Okay, y'all want to make any type of move on that Scott County resolution?
Well, we put it in for Lindsay on what they use it for. I mean, I think they're doing good, but. Make a motion, we adopt resolution 17-024.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second to adopt 17-024. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, next we got the Creekwood subdivision addition to secondary system.
We've now been advised by VDOT that all fees and surety are paid and in place, and the subdivision street is ready for inclusion in the secondary system of roads. So the resolution that's enclosed will request that action of the Virginia Department of Transportation.
Thank you.
I make a motion that we approve resolution 17-018.
I'll second.
Okay, got a motion and a second to approve 17-018. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, next we'll go into the new business with board appointments. First one's the Lonesome Pine Office on Youth. Larry, you said you hadn't got word
Oh,
back
well,
on that.
I talked to Renee, she'll have to take names to me by next month's meeting.
We need a motion to board, to table to the next meeting, so move.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, we got 2 appointments for the Dryden Water Authority.
Okay, I renominate Billy Mullins and Ronnie Bailey Jr.
Okay, got a motion to nominate Bill Mullins and Ron Bailey Jr.
I second.
Got a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, we got the Public Service Authority, 2 positions open there, one for District 4 and one for District 5. You want to go ahead and make your first?
Yeah, renominate Richard Schuler.
Can we do both of those at the same time? I'll renominate Roger Gates.
I'll second both nominations.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, next we got Redevelopment and Housing Authority.
Motion to reappoint Reba Nelson.
Got a motion to reappoint Reba Nelson.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, we have Social Services, 2 positions, one for District 1 and one for District 3.
On one, Mr. Poe, I'll change that over, that'd be Wade Wilson. He'll be taking Noel Hall's position.
I'll second
Since those are different districts, it's
Yeah.
really cleaner if we do those as separate motions.
Okay, well, we done the last one, two different districts. Makes a difference, we'll do it that way. Okay, we've got a motion to nominate Wade Wilson,
St.
district.
Charles second.
I second.
Charles second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, Larry.
Motion to appoint Eleanor Chadwell.
District.
That's for social services.
Eleanor.
Eleanor Chadwell.
I'll second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second to appoint Eleanor Chadwell. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, next we got the stone face rock lighting request.
Sure, there's one other.
You got one more
Oh,
down there. That's Southwest.
Okay, got you, I'm sorry. Southwest Virginia Emergency Medical Services. Sorry about that.
Frida Ayers, Mr. Chairman, she'll stay on that position.
Okay,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, now we can go to the stone face rock lighting request.
I was contacted recently by the town manager of town of Pennington Gap regarding relighting Stoneface Rock for night viewing. Several years ago, the county had offered to help the town with this project, but nothing was ever followed through on that. In 2013, I think 2 board members were appointed to a committee to work with the town, but nothing ever did come of that. I've not found anything specific as to an offer in the board's minutes. I do know it was discussed several times, but there was no actual motion on the county side. Mr. Harless said that the county had offered to pay for the materials if the town would pay the monthly electric bill on the light. The town has already purchased 3 lights, a pole, and the electrical switch gear that would be needed at a total cost of $2,700. Town employees would cover the cost of installing them. But I advise that since there's been a significant time lag, this goes back several years, I've suggested that it can be brought back to this board for your consideration at this point.
So they're just asking for them to be able to do it, since he has everything?
They're asking for reimbursement on at least some portion of the cost if the board desires to do so.
And paying for the light fit bill.
Well, they would pay for
They
the
would
bill.
pay,
Yeah,
okay.
they're just asking if the board would be willing to participate in the cost of the materials.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, I was involved in that a little bit. I don't think we ever agreed on what would be paid by whom. It was very preliminary discussion when we first started looking at this. And I went to the town council in Pennington and addressed them about doing this. And there was some discussion about it, but it never got into the fact that the county would pay for it. So I'll leave it at that.
So what are you suggesting?
Well, I would like to see it lit again. I mean, I remember when it used to be lit, but what got this started, I was approached by Johnny Thomas. And, his wife was working on this project to get the Stoneface Rock relit, and she was tragically killed in a motorcycle accident before she ever got to complete that project.
Oh, yeah.
Who paid for it before, Larry? Who paid for the
Town of Pennington, I think.
town Pennington? I think town Pennington ought to be, they want to do it, but
You know, I wouldn't care to help them with it, but, you know, like I said, there's, Mr. Poe can't find anything on paper, they can't find anything on paper. It's just, you know, I think there needs to be some discussion on it before we vote on it.
yeah.
Be a motion,
Table
table
it
until
to
next.
table.
And
So moved.
somebody, discussed with them.
Mr. Poe, if you could get a couple of board members or council members to come down, and then a couple of us before we leave here, we'll decide, we'll find a time to meet with them. then discuss this. And, I guess Mr. Harvest also.
We got a motion and a second to table it all until next meeting. All in favor? Any opposed?
Mr. Chairman, are you going to appoint a committee to work on that? I think, is that what you were suggesting?
Yeah,
That it
yeah,
be
before
done
we
by a
leave.
committee to report back? So you may want to appoint 2 members to.
I'll talk with somebody else, Charlie.
My time is really,
Yeah,
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, it won't do.
All right. I'll contact Mr. Horowitz and ask him to get a couple of council members that would be willing to do that.
After Christmas is fine. After the first year, matter of fact, we meet again. It will take a few minutes to hash it out.
Okay, next we got the IDA request for economic development funds.
Chairman, as board members are aware, we're working with an unnamed prospect at this time regarding the Dryden Industrial Building. And the IDA is requesting that the Board of Supervisors consider approval of up to $100,000 be used from the Lee County Economic Development Fund to assist with completing code compliance and repairs to that building in preparation for the prospect to come in. We do have other expected funding sources for this project. The Virginia Coalfield Economic Development Authority will hear a request and consider a request on Thursday of this week for funding. And we're also working with the Virginia Tobacco Region Revitalization Commission for a Tobacco Region Opportunity Fund grant to assist with that as well. If you feel like you need more information on that project or an update prior to considering a motion on it, then I would recommend that be taken up in closed session.
yeah, I'd like to know more
Yeah, I've got
information
you.
about it.
Questions before we actually vote.
All right.
Okay, next we'll have the sheriff's office copier request.
The Sheriff's Office is requesting to use Compensation Board vacancy savings to purchase a new copier for their office. Their current machine is well over 5 years old. It's been giving them considerable problems with the document feed system. They've had it repaired multiple times and still continue to have problems with it. In order to use the comp board funds for equipment, the county has to provide what's called a physical stress match. Currently, the county physical stress would be 0.2228 cents on the dollar. In other words, if you bought a $4,000 or spent a total of $4,000 on the machine, the county's cost would be $891.20, and the balance would come from those state comp board fundings. As of the time we released the board packet, we did not have all the quotes in. I do have those down. I think a memo's been passed across. We had 3 companies provide quotes. John Co. Incorporated and Hungate Business Services both priced 2 different machines. Tri-City Business Machines priced 1. When you look at the list there, I've got the cost of a copier only. In the first column there, or the middle column you may call it, for each of the units. I also did a quote or a projected cost over 5 years with that cost projection based on you running 10,000 copies per year and any maintenance fees that were required of the vendor for those machines. When you look at it from a straight copier cost only, Hungate Business Services provided the lowest cost of $4,200 on a Xerox. But when you look at it on a 5-year cost, Tri-City Business Machines comes in lower overall on that than any of the others. Their unit equipped similar to the Xerox with a stapler and a hole punch. is about $463 higher for the initial cost, but Hungate has a annual maintenance fee of $120 plus a per copy cost of 0.8 cents. Tri-City Business Machines has no annual maintenance fee and a 0.7 cents per copy maintenance fee. So the only way that any annual usage greater than 4,000 copies favors the Tri-City Business proposal. It's going to be cheaper as long as, if they run more than 4,000 copies a year. Most offices will do well more than that. That's the reason I based it on 10,000. Some offices may even run 12 to 15,000 copies a year. So the more copies they run, the more competitive Tri-City's price is going to be, because their cost per copy is lower to begin with. And also, again, they do not have the annual maintenance fee. One thing I did fail to do, because I was putting this together late this afternoon, is determine the exact cost. This would be the cost of the comp board, the physical stress amount, and the cost of the comp board is on the actual purchase price of the machine. It does not take into consideration, there's no funding for maintenance or anything like that for the comp board. It is for equipment only. So based on that, and this is on if you go with the low bid over the 5-year period, which would be Tri-City Business Machines, the 4663, the county's portion of that would be $1,038.92.
What position are they pulling that from?
I'm not sure exactly where the vacancy savings came from. They have the option, the officer does, of either spreading that across other positions, and I know they've done some of that in the past to raise some positions, but he requested that they would rather buy a copy machine with it at this point, because they really need the machine.
5 years, a long time for it. So you basically just need a motion for okay, for them to be able to use the
Yes.
comp fund, and let's do the local match of .2228.
Yes.
So moved.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, reports and recommendations of county attorney.
Well, I was hoping to report, have you heard anything, Dane, from Jeff Mitchell?
I prefer to take that up in closed session.
Okay. We can discuss that then. Other than that, I don't have anything to report.
Okay, reports and recommendations of the county administrator.
Got a couple of things. One, should have a memo there, request for storage buildings. And I did not get this on it was mixed up between Mr. Collinsworth and myself as to who was gathering what information or who was ready to generate what. So, but for some time, we've had a need for suitable space to store supplies for hazardous spill containment and cleanup items, and also a place to store 911 street sign supplies. With completion of the new transfer station facility, this has become more apparent as things have moved further away from where items were left out in the open previously. But based on the materials normally on hand or that are needed to be kept on hand, Gary Collinsworth has determined that a 10-foot by 20-foot storage building would meet that need. It would keep all the 911 street sign supplies out of the weather in an enclosed area, a place where they could go and work on. Sometimes this matter, they need to straighten out some of the items that are bent that can be repaired, but also to maintain some inventory. It also gives them a place to store some of the larger absorbent pads and things that are needed for hazardous spills. In addition to that, with moving the litter control and recycling office over to the transfer station, we need a smaller storage building to house items that they have that are not used full-time. A lot of the recycling containers, a lot of trash bags and things that are ordered in quantity for the road cleanups and different things like that, need a good place to be able to keep those. He believes that an 8-foot, a 16-foot storage building would meet that need as well. The cost for these two buildings, if we order them together, he had priced them both at Timberline Barnes, and when he went back to them again, they lowered the price a little bit more. The 10 by 20 foot building would be $3,095. The 8 by 16 building would be $1,939. I believe we can split the cost of that larger building between emergency services and E911 departments with the existing budgeted funds that they have. And also the cost of the smaller building can be charged to budgeted funds in litter and recycling. We had funds in there to purchase a new pickup this year. By chance, we wrecked it before we could get a new one purchased. That one is under order, but we did get the insurance proceeds from the other. But there's sufficient funds almost there to purchase that with or without the insurance proceeds on that. So we can do this with budgeted funds.
So this is what Al and them decided for the hazardous materials and stuff, be best just to put it in a
Yeah, that way they've got access to it and it can be separate from our things and
well, it's
don't have stuff commingled.
kind of county centralized also.
Right.
If people need to. As far as our EMS stuff, just to update y'all, we had a tabletop last week with VDM, and this hazardous material stuff is something we've been looking at for the last couple of months on trying to get not a huge amount, but if we had a spill or something had to be dealt with, someplace to store it and keep it kind of centralized. And most of the departments agreed upon the need for it. That's just one of the steps of us trying to move that bunch a little more forward.
Okay, do we need a motion to go ahead and proceed with that?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, we got a motion, you got a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed?
Also, Mr. Chairman, I sent you all a text after the board packets went out regarding the Regional Industrial Facilities Authority appointments. Had a follow-up meeting on that Thursday afternoon, and with the exception of Scott County, none of the other localities have made their appointments, or are they planning to make them until their January meetings. So you can just think about those for another month, and we'll have that on the agenda for next month.
Are we going to discuss personnel in closed session?
I don't have anything for personnel, but if you want to,
Can we do
you
it that
can.
way we can maybe discuss it a little more in depth?
And, but like I say, that'll be on the agenda for next month. The only other thing I have then would be the request for closed session. The two items I have is investing in public funds, legal counsel, and then you could add personnel to that. And that's all I have.
Okay, we got any reports or recommendations of the board?
I'd just like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Yes. Okay, we need a motion to go into closed session.
Scott Bullen is superintendent of Wilderness Road. I think called in to see if we could be put on the agenda for tonight.
The agenda is locked down a week before the board meeting. It was
Okay.
prepared. It's always due at 10 o'clock on the Tuesday prior to the board meeting. Public expression would have been the appropriate time to address anything
For delegation.
that's not on the agenda.
Okay. Can we do it, could I?
Motion to amend the agenda.
Next meeting or whatever?
Yeah, I second that motion.
Yeah, we got a motion and a second to amend the agenda. All in favor? Proceed.
My name's Jerry Starcher, and I'm part of the Friends Organization for Wilderness Road. And us and the Virginia Association of Parks would like to bring up a resolution for support for full funding for Virginia State Parks. I'd like to hand it out now. The resolution says, whereas Virginia State Parks are a critical element of Virginia's travel and tourist infrastructure, contributing over $224 million to the state and local economies. And whereas Wilderness Road State Park and Lee County attracts 172,252 visitors in 2016, up from 118,588 in 2015. And whereas tourists travel through Lee County to get to Wilderness Road State Park and other Virginia state parks in southwest Virginia, to include but not limited to Grayson Highland State Park, Hungry Mother State Park, New River Trail State Park, National Tunnel State Park, Southwest Virginia Museum Historical State Park, Wilderness Road State Park, plus Breaks International Park. Now, therefore, be resolved by the Lee County Board of Supervisors in Lee County by this resolution formally requested the members of the Virginia General Assembly to support full funding for Virginia State Parks and to support what is needed to adequately maintain and operate what current in terms of facilities and infrastructure, and the authorization of full construction is detailed in the Virginia State Parks Need Assessment. And be further resolved by Lee County Board of Supervisors by this resolution formally request the Virginia Municipal League and Virginia Association of Counties place this issue on their legislative agenda and support it in General Assemblies.
So unless you're asking for full funding for Virginia State Parks, what funding is lacking now from what you're asking here?
We're asking for additional fundings for daily operations of $2 million a year, infrastructure repairs to existing facilities of $20 million, and additional staff of $30. This will allow the park system to adequately maintain and operate what currently exists. And that's basically what we're asking is it's what's already there, just basically to have funded for the next coming year.
So you're saying you're fully funded. You're asking for funding to cover,
The state government to fund the parks.
to fund above and beyond what you're receiving now. I mean, obviously you're asking for more funding, is what I'm saying.
How much?
I think that is basically what funded what we have now, more than anything else.
This is not really clear
Yeah.
what you want. And the way it's presented here, if it goes to Richmond, I don't think they would have any idea what you're asking for. It needs to be made more clear before it can be sent to anybody in Richmond.
Well, I think the document that's missing that you don't have in front of you is the Virginia Association of Parks needs assessment. I'm sure that needs assessment probably comes with funding requests or funding totals that it would take to provide those services or the infrastructure that they probably deem that they need to adequately have their parks up to date and provide everything that they'd like to have. I don't have a copy of that either, but I think that's the document that they're asking you to support funding for, is what's in their needs assessment.
Well, can we-
That's how I read it.
Since he's come and talked to us, and we've got a general idea of what he's saying, can we have the resolution tied into with what they're saying for it to be more clear, possibly for the next one? That way, I mean, we'll have an idea of what we're looking at, but I think that it needs to be more clear than what we have here in front of us.
I think you could ask the local state park to provide a little more detailed information on what it is you're requesting.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, to come up with a better resolution to have in the packet for the next month that would be more clear.
The problem is, General Assembly will be in session.
They'll be in, you'll meet on the 16th. We'll have been in session for a few days. Of course, governor's budget's coming out any day if it's not already out. I don't think it's come out
They're
yet.
fixing to swap all that.
Well,
It'll be a
and I know it'll be,
cluster.
but it, budget committees will begin working right away, or budget bills will start moving through, so.
I mean, just requesting members of the Virginia General Assembly to support full funding for Virginia State Parks. I mean, I'm sure they're probably talking about last year's budget numbers, is that correct?
I would have to ask that.
Well, that's what I'm saying, they had to be fully funded last year.
Yeah.
I think they're asking for more, you mentioned $20 million for upgrading, 30-some more positions, so I think it's a number above and beyond of what they funded last year, but I think that'll have to be put in there. I mean, it's pretty vague.
Yeah, let's just go ahead and see if we can get a different resolution, set up for next month's meeting.
So let's go back one.
Could we tag that, Dean, and go ahead and vote on it? Let you take care of that.
Well, without the members having seen what it is, I'm not sure that
Yeah,
we
well,
have
that's
a
what
comfort
you
level
said.
on voting for something.
Vote on what you said put in there, that's it?
I don't know what's in that needs assessment. I don't have any, and I noticed they've got in here, they requested the Association of Counties place it on their legislative agenda. I think they have something mentioned. I read through those while we were at the annual meeting, but I don't always read everything in depth on some of those, but they typically have a vague statement on state parks, and I'm not sure, I'm fairly positive they probably got this submitted to them, because their legislative agenda is already locked down. It was locked down in the early part of November.
I'll make a motion that it's rewritten and tabled up till next meeting. I think it's the only way we can do it.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Jesus. Okay, back to something next month.
If you even just get it and
I'll get with
put it in
Scott.
the board package.
I'll talk to Scott
Okay.
between now and then to get some additional information.
Now we changed, I guess. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, the motion that we go into closed session under employment personnel, 2.2-3711A.1. Okay, investment of public funds, 2.2-3711A.6, and another one. Compensation with legal counsel, which is 2.2-3711A.7.
Second.
All in favor?
Personnel.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Merry Christmas, Chief.
Merry Christmas.